And we're live. Hey everyone, Brian of the Tiny Crypto Blog. So today, and it seems like I always go off the cuff with my most of the videos like this, talking about Simon Dixon, which I stumbled across him on Peter McCormick's channel. Peter McCormick started up the What Bitcoin Did. His partner Danny took it over and currently runs it. Coincidentally, Simon Dixon was also recent on What Bitcoin Did recently as well. Well, some of the things that he talked about, his perspective on events in the world and what the straws are that stir the drinks, so to speak. I started investigating him further, listening to some of his stuff, and the guy does research, and he said he also does a lot of reading on declassified docs, openly available information to just see where does the money go, what's going on. And the conclusion he came up with is essentially, it's kind of like George Carlin. It's a big club and you ain't in it. That the ruling elite, if you want to call them that, not that they're elite in any way other than their ability to manipulate the rules and be able to influence human events for their own gains, are basically, my take is that we need to factor that into world affairs more than we have been, and that it is a continual presence. And really, like on a federal level, on state levels, and less so at local levels where there's more face-to-face accountability, people in political office don't care about the welfare of everyday people, only their consent. Because if they have their consent, then they can do whatever it is they want to do or need to do for themselves, their cronies, the people that push things in certain directions. And, we're sold these packages with all sorts of wrappers because all they care about, again, is our consent. They don't care about our welfare. They care more so about their own individual welfares than about us and other people. And it's not to say, I'm not trying to go on a rant saying individualism's bad and it's selfishness. No, because every human is inherently selfish and self-interested. Let's boost up here. There we go. Is selfish and self-interested. That's how we've learned to apply incentives. And it's hardwired into us. If we can get more of something for less effort, we do it. Oh, it's easier to kill that wild beast if I use this weapon versus holding on in my bare hands or holding a rock or something. Oh, I can chuck this spear over distance versus having to engage in close quarters. Yes. Oh, I can spend some time making a trap, call it a day, come back the next day and get my food versus spend all day focusing on trying to get this animal for food. Yes. Oh, if I sign up for this app, I get 2-for-1 special coupons. Nice. Even though it means they're going to scrape my data. People respond to incentives. That's just inherently us. And the fact that people can manipulate the rules of the game and the levers of power and whatnot and do things at a scale that everyday people, can't do, that just means they have more ability. The Davos crowd, the ultra rich, whatever you want to call them. And his take, so that all said, his take and the direction he's pointing things, and that's kind of what I wanted to establish here, was that, or at least put down and out there, is that the direction is his take, and I'm still looking for evidence to either validate or invalidate this, is that there's going to be the shift of wealth to the Middle East and possibly also Africa. where we're going to see the conflict of the last 30, 40 years in the Middle East de-escalate and things become peaceful where they can actually build. We're going to see the U.S. being turned into being scaled back from a global power to a regional power, which I think would probably have aims with empowering things in Europe, or maybe specifically Russia itself, Asia, maybe more so China, possibly India, Japan maybe, and using the military influence of the United States to, well, essentially, and then turning the direction more towards Latin America to extract resources through the means that have been used over the last 50 years, 70 years, since post-World War II, using things like the Bank of International Settlements, using the IMF, using debt as tools to incentivize, encourage, and steer activities in certain directions. If you haven't read on this, I'm trying to think who I've listened to. It might have been What Bitcoin Did that talked about, they had a gentleman from, this is probably going back to maybe 2021 or 22. If you go back to TINYCRYPTOBLOG.com and look up IMF or International Monetary Fund, you'll find the post that shares the video where a person talked about the IMF and how it's used as a tool of imperial colonialism, to use the trendy phrases. For example, a country might take on debt, and they say, well, to pay off this debt, there's a big demand for shrimp. You should build some shrimp farms in this delta. And so this poor nation will start building shrimp farms. And in the process of doing that, it'll end up destroying ecosystems, native industries, and basically have a net detrimental effect, but it'll pay back that loan and put money back into the pockets of the lenders and all the members of the IMF and any other banks involved. So, but yeah, Latin America will be the next target to do a big wealth transfer. The U.S. is already in the middle, if not going into the latter stages, just like Europe, of being strip mined of wealth transfer, where our individual wealth is being sucked from us. Our wealth, money is stored energy. Our time is a choice to expend energy, to do things that we enjoy, or to work for the purpose of exchanging that effort for stored energy, money. Where it finally kicked in me of how our time and our work is transformed into stored energy. So if I go doing gig work, say driving for an hour, and I earn $20, that $20 is stored energy that I can use so that on another weekend, I don't have to work that hour. Or I can use that and treat myself to Burger King, or use that for groceries, or use that to buy Bitcoin, or use that for a 401k, or for a donation to a food bank, or whatever I choose. And when you devalue the currency, you're devaluing people's energy. It's strip mining and take away the wealth, where now that hour of effort is no longer earning the same value. That $20 you earned has been devalued. That is inflation. That is monetary printing. Prices go up and prices go down based on supply and demand. That happens. It's a flux. But inflation, monetary inflation, that is solely the creation of money. And also, too, let's put this one down. The ideal rate of ideal target of inflation should be 0%. Well, we've been told the money supply needs to expand with the amount of value of goods and services. Okay, if the amount of value of goods and services is expanding, and if the inflation rate were 0%, that means if the value of everything grew by 10%, so did the monetary base. But if the monetary base we have 2% inflation, that monetary base grew 12%. If anyone says, yeah, the ideal rate of inflation should be 2%, bullshit. The ideal rate of monetary inflation is 0%. So remember that now, too. And, going back to the thing with the direction of global money, the global elite, whatever you want to call those people, I think they're stoking the flames, because if you look at precious metals, gold and silver, those things are making a run back like they did during the commodities boom of commodities price boom of 2005, 6, 7, especially 2007, where there was a huge run up. That's what I'm seeing today. A lot of this price action, you could say it's an indication of the lack of, all the monetary arguments, about people are buying it because of this. I think right now you're starting to get a lot of FOMO buying. As fast as it's moving up, you're getting a lot of FOMO buying. You're also, there hasn't been, we haven't had price discovery. We've had price speculation. Like, we haven't leveled out. If you think of Bitcoin has moved into a range. It's not speculation. It's not random, spiking up like mad and going and going and going. It's not a 2017. It's not a 2021. It's not a 2023. It's doing what it's doing. Sorry, the coffee was ready. Bitcoin, if you look at its pricing, its movement is in a range. Gold and silver right now, gold more so, silver less so. Speculation. How high it'll go, how far it'll blow out, I have no idea. This isn't financial advice, but I've had money in precious metals as a hedge for years. With the run-up silver's had, I've been scraping some, in my retirement accounts, I've been scraping some profits off the table and locking those in, because I'm waiting to see where the speculative blowout's going to happen. And there'll be one. But at this point, the price keeps going up. We're not in price discovery. We're in mania phase. So, but that said, that's also being somewhat engineered as well, because a lot of people are going to take out leverage, and a lot of people are going to get their asses handed to them. And that's when people with money who've cashed out, who are manipulating things behind the scenes, will step in, claim more assets. Same thing with Bitcoin. It said with Bitcoin, the goal is to financialize it, where you swap fiat, either in the form of cash or debt, for your Bitcoin. Hey, if you custody your Bitcoin at this institution, you can take out a loan. You can borrow against it. Same thing. The idea, you can shove it into this ETF. The idea being that these parties will hold or have control of the Bitcoin, the asset, and all you're given is worthless ass money that gets devalued every day. He also said that Bitcoin's reached a phase where it is now your enemy's money, which turns into an arms race. Iran, US, Russia, China, Britain, Iran. I don't know about Britain, but they hold Bitcoin. They're mining Bitcoin. It's an arms race. And if you ever played the board game Catan, the general concept is that you're trying to accumulate points by building roads, settlements, and then through dice rolls, you collect resources that allow you to build the roads, to build a town, to build a settlement. And there's a token called the Thief, where if you roll a 7, you can put this down on one of these resource hexagons, and anytime a dice roll for that number comes up, whoever has a town or settlement touching that, they will not collect any resources. Well, Bitcoin is kind of like mutually assured destruction. One of the tactics in that game, Catan, is to put your settlements on the same hexagon as your opponents. That way it de-incentivizes them to put the thief on there and deny getting any resources, because it also hurts them too. So you create that incentive if both your hands are in the pie. It's the same with Bitcoin here now, where, well, I have Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin, and I have Bitcoin. I don't want to destroy Bitcoin because it's going to destroy my stash. It's the game theory that we've talked about since 2017 and further back. Well, 2017 for me anyway, further back, we are in that where my enemy's money is a factor. And now it's an arms race, and it's just going to be an accumulative arms race. And another point he made was, just like, and I said this in a video that I released earlier this week, which actually had a clip with Simon Dixon, where just as the Caribbean tax havens are made for the benefit of the rich, of the Davos crowd, the club, and it's accessible for us as well if we have the resources, but it's there. They made it for their benefit. Well, they can't exclude people, so anyone can take hold. LLCs in the United States, limited liability corporations, it's a corporate structure. It's a business structure. Well, same thing. It's for their benefit. God, what was the original one? Tax havens. And to this respect, self-custody. They own Bitcoin and they want to be able to self-custody and so we benefit from their own greed and selfishness. That one I'm watching like a hawk to see, are there going to be nuance? Are there going to be reporting requirements where the level of legislation will get refined to a point where with other assets, there's legal precedents, rulings, laws, and regulations in place, which more or less serve to protect self-custody. And will there be reporting requirements where you have to disclose what you have? Like, say, 401k assets. It would take some really nasty stuff for someone to say, government say, we're seizing these. But yet, a lot of these things, there's that open disclosure of, well, who's behind an asset? Who owns an asset? Same thing with Bitcoin. Will there be a forced disclosure, the same reporting requirements? I don't know. But I'm watching like a hawk. And just the fact that if there's an incentive, Charlie Munger, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. The incentive is we want to be able to self-custody our Bitcoin. So I give that some credence, and I'm looking to see where the bias and future legislation falls. But yeah, Simon Dixon, he's worth checking out. He does these long videos. I mean, God, they're 3 hours long, and he chops them up, thankfully, where in the following week, he'll publish individual segments from each clip, each like hour-long segment of like topic he covers. But there seems to be the direction where he's pointing and implying, there seems to be some accuracy there, some validity where I haven't figured out in what ways he's off the mark and in what ways he's on the button, but the direction he points, it makes sense. So he's worth checking out. So we're at 20 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. Follow Tiny Crypto Blog at all the websites, list in the show notes with that. Be well, everyone. Talk to you soon, and stay tuned for next time.